Hi folks, hope you're doing well. It's 6 p.m. on the 22nd of the 7th, 2020. So, okay, this one's about driving in the UK. Well, not driving, what you pay to be a driver in the UK and how much of a con all that is really. Yeah, I never really knew anything about it until fairly recently, until I learned to drive and to then pay to be able to drive. And boy, what a rip-off the whole situation is. Well, because, okay, MOT in your car. On most occasions, when you MOT a car, they go through with no problem at all, through the MOT. Now, to me, that should be free. That first one should be free. The reason is, if your car has an issue and needs repair, most people will therefore get the work done at the garage that they get the MOT done. So therefore, the garage makes money. They then have to have another MOT to make sure the car passes. Right? Charge for the second one, charge for the work. If you're doing the work. If you're not, you'll be doing the second MOT, so charge for that. The way the garages work instead, they charge for the first MOT, and if you bring the car back within 7 days for its second MOT, you have to pay for that. Well, do it the other way around. Because car drivers have to pay enough every year. Enough every year. Insurance, this is the biggest rip-off of them all. Insurance companies, generally speaking, will fight their darndest to make sure they don't have to pay out any money. They will. They've still got that reputation because that's who they are. I mean, you get insurance because I'm a relatively new driver, even at nearly 51. Your insurance cost is astronomical. I looked recently at getting a smaller car to add to my bigger car. Because the bigger car is perfect for the dogs, but for normal driving around town, it's just too big. I mean, I get 32 miles per gallon in that car. So it's perfect for the dogs. You know, for getting them in the car, perfect size. You get all five in there quite comfortably. 2008 extra, it's big enough. But miles per gallon, it's pretty poor. I mean, you can get a smaller car that is nowhere near big enough for the dogs, but gets 60 miles per gallon, which obviously means you're not actually filling your tank up anywhere near as often, half as often, basically, which is good. It saves you money. But of course, looking at that, if I paid £600 for the car, if the car was, reasonably spec, I looked at the insurance. The insurance would cost me £800. So more than what the cost of the car would be. And then with the insurance, if there's any issues, they, generally speaking, they undervalue the car. They do that so that if anything happens, they don't have to pay out as much. But they also try and get you on these deals where you pay an excess. So basically, there's a lot of excesses that you don't see in a deal. When you phone up after you've had an issue, that's when you find out. I had an issue with one of my cars, and I phoned up, and the car should have been scrapped, really. But they were saying the car should be scrapped. But it worked out that I paid, I think, about £900 to insure the car. If the car was scrapped, I would have worked out about £200 back from the insurance for that car. Because by the time they take off all the amount that I have to pay before they have to pay a penny, I got basically nothing. Nowhere near enough money to actually get another car. Nowhere near. So if it's for a normal accident, I mean, even if a car goes into me, you would hope that the other the other people's insurance would deal with that. No, the other people's insurance would fight tooth and bone to save and pay that money. Even though if they pay out money, they're going to make sure the persons who hit my car, they have to pay more through their insurance. So they have to pay back basically what they cost the insurance company. Even though the majority of people never have an accident in their life of driving. They never have an accident. But the insurance companies, they make a blinking fortune. They really do. They make an absolute blinking fortune. Life insurance companies are exactly the same. And home insurance are exactly the same. They try their hardest to get out of paying any money. Yeah, it is a case that some people try to con the insurance companies. But more often, the insurance companies are trying to con us. That's the reality. They really are. They are nasty little people. They're basically solicitors that work with money. Pretty much. And we know solicitors are, I heard the story of heaven one day when there's a massive going on at the gates where Peter is there. And of course, everyone notices this uproar at the gates. So you've got all the pastors and the bishops and all these people that heaven is filled with going up, find out what's going on. And the cheering is really loud, almost to the point where it's hurting your ears the closer you get to it. So somebody eventually gets up to Peter and says, "What's going on?" And Peter, with tears in his eyes, said, "This is our first lawyer. This is the first one that ever repented." You could change that for insurance broker. You could change it from insurance broker to politician. There's so many groups that you can change that to. Yeah. But okay. Also with car, you've got the road tax. You've got to pay the road tax. And road tax is really supposed to go on the roads. Whereas now we're seeing road tax go on building cycle paths for the cyclists. Now, cyclists don't pay any road tax. So why on earth should car users pay for them to have their own little bit of road? I'm not saying they shouldn't have their own little bit of road, but why should... Because it's not as if the roads are adequate. There are a lot of old roads that still have potholes and other stuff that damages cars. Deal with that. Use the road tax in the way it's supposed to be used to fix the roads. Once the roads are all fixed, then any money that's left over, fine. Give it to the cyclists. Let them build their little paths. That's cool. I say that as if I hate cyclists. I don't hate cyclists. I don't live in the city. If I lived in the city, the inner city, would I hate cyclists? Yeah. But I don't live in the inner city. So cyclists don't bother me at all. So whenever I'm driving around, it's insane. You do your check. You're supposed to check before you turn left or right. You're supposed to check signal, indication, maneuver. Right? Deal with that. So mirror, signal, maneuver. So mirrors first. There's never a cyclist there. Or motorbike. If there is, you notice them way before that because you're constantly checking your mirrors anyway. So you notice them anyway. It's all this mirror, signal, maneuver. When you're driving, you're checking your mirrors all the time. And if you're looking through your rear mirror, you're seeing if there's a cyclist or something. I had a situation the other day. What was it? Due to a driver in front suddenly basically, braking hard to make a turn, I had to come to him when I stopped, and a cyclist pulled up beside me as I was going to make a left turn. But there was about 50 yards away, so I just sped up a bit, got ahead of the cyclist by quite a bit and made the turn. No problem at all. I knew the cyclist was there. I knew there was no way, shape, or form the cyclist would be able to go faster than me in a car. So just got ahead of the cyclist and made the turn. Simple. Yeah, but generally speaking, do you ever see the cyclist? No. So yeah, as I say, with MOTs, I don't know. MOT does make sense. If you have cars that are dangerous, it makes sense to get them MOT'd. But as far as I know, on new cars, they don't need to be MOT until year 2. They should really make that at least year 5. At least year 5. Because chances are there's nothing wrong with the car by year 2. I mean, most people are sensible, decent drivers. With most people, put it this way, most people understand. Well, for example, tyres. If your tyres are a bit worn, they understand to check, okay, tyres are a bit worn, get new tyres. Because if you don't and you're in an accident, and during the accident, the police discover your tyres were dodgy, and that's what may have caused the accident, you won't get your insurance company to pay a penny. Not at all. Not to any other driver or person that got injured or whose property got injured. Your insurance company will not pay a penny. Because your car had an issue. Your tyres had to be replaced and you didn't replace them. So, in the end, most people are sensible and do the work on their car. As I said, I mean, to me, do the, what's it called, the MOT, where the first MOT is free. Any work that has to be done can either be done by the person or by the garage. Second MOT you pay for. If it needs a second MOT. If it just goes through, then that's free. And I say, drivers have to pay a lot of money already. Even someone who's experienced as a driver, you still have to pay 300 quid for insurance, 200 to 300 quid, depending upon your car. If you get a nice car, it's even more, depending upon your car. And then you've got your road tax, and then you've got all your MOT, and then you've got your work you have to do on the car. If there's ever an issue, you've got to get it fixed, you've got to get it repaired, you've got to buy the parts, you've got to replace the tyres every couple of years at minimum. Maximum every couple of years. It could be every year. Depends on how you drive. I mean, if you've got 2 sets of tyres that you change spring and autumn, well then you probably be okay. You won't need to get new tyres for another couple of years. But that's because you're using 2 sets of tyres. If you're using one for spring time, summer, autumn and winter, chances are you'll need to replace those tyres within the year. Now, that can be fairly expensive. Depends on where you go. If you know somebody, it can be cheaper. But if you don't, that could be up to £400 just for tyres. And then you've got your brakes you've got to look at. You've got to make sure they're okay. Then you've got your daily stuff that you've got to check, your water, your oils and all that you've got to top up. It is expensive enough owning a car and driving around. And people need to drive. Driving around is very important to the economy of most countries. From the buying of cars to the buying of insurance, the paying the road tax, keep the roads decent. The MOTs for the garages, keep them open. So, I think drivers need a bit of help. I mean, I don't know. I mean, would cancel insurance? I mean, if you're rich, if you're very rich, you don't need insurance. You don't, because if you're in an accident and your car's totaled, you'll just buy a new one. If you're in an accident and you damage someone else's car or someone else in person, then you've probably got some form of insurance that will cover that anyway. If you haven't, well then, you've got lawyers who can, thrash out a deal. So it won't cost you that much really to do so, to cover that issue. I mean, they're fine ways of paying less than what you should pay. It's crazy, really, isn't it? That we've had these advances. That driving is an advance in society, means we can get places earlier and quicker. Little puppies are making noise. Little Frankie's woken up. Just over a week old. About 11 days old, actually. 11 days old now. Something like that. Yeah. Anyway, as I say, about the advances, about the cars. People never realise that for such an advance, it's going to cost you personally so much money. You'd be able to use that. It's counted as something that everyone should be able to do, should be able to drive, should have the right to do so. Maybe it's because of the fact that each driver sort of keeps the economy floating. Really. For the huge amounts of money you put into the economy through all these things that's already been mentioned, and then car parts and everything else, it's a huge amount that goes into the economy. If every car driver has to spend the minimum of insurance, road tax, MOT, plus tyres once a year, and then other bits and pieces, you're looking at least just from driving. And that's before refueling, because fuel is quite expensive and that's all taxed. So you're looking per year, including fuel, spent, you're looking at probably close to £800 on your car. Minimum £800 on your car spent a year. And all of that is taxed. So each person spends around about that much per year on their car. Depend upon the person, that's probably about an average. Obviously, bigger cars and more expensive cars, they spend a heck of a lot more. The smaller, cheaper cars, they spend a lot less. But all that gets taxed. That's per person. So that's a lot of money per person per year that goes into the tax and into the economy. So very important. So it'd be nice if the drivers got a bit of benefit from that. One thing I will say, I noticed something today. I've got to do another video in a while, so I'll mention this other thing that I noticed a bit later. Right, so you take care, God bless, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.